Yep.
Turn it loose to Coach Stoops.
Okay, looking back on Saturday briefly, once again, just proud of our team, the way we handled things, played a relatively clean, played hard. Once again, I have to acknowledge the fans. It was incredible. What a great atmosphere to hang around and wait for us for 2 hours plus, and then give us a lot of inspiration coming out. I understand the catwalk out here, which we weren't able to do, was completely jammed, and so hopefully we'll get to do that here this week. So I call them to show up again. Excited about opening up SEC play here this week. Obviously, the competition improves greatly. So one thing about that game is I thought we did some really good things, but there are a ton of mistakes and so many things we can improve on, and that's exciting for us to get back to work. And really, that's our focus. Our daily habits. What are we going to do? What are we going to sacrifice to improve? To get better today. With our short-term goals and look to improve. Once again, South Carolina is the team that we always seem to have good games with through my many years here. Always a very good game, always evenly matched, and we're looking forward to that challenge and calling that home crowd to once again show up like they did last week and make a difference. We greatly appreciate them, and so getting ready here for South Carolina starting today.
There's a lot of positive things to point out from the game. Is there any teaching moments that you're going to be harping on your team from Saturday night's game?
There most definitely. There's many things from, and you saw that. I think you probably watched opening day football and leading up to our game with the ability to watch some games Thursday, Friday, and then we played so late Saturday. There was some time in between the watch, and I try to bring up a lot of things to the players to head it off before it happens, because it's just normal. Kids are all amped up and excited about that first game, but you really got to focus on your job, and do your primary responsibility first. I think there was a lot of good teaching moments on that being done. And then there's some moments where when you're playing somebody new, the reaction time is different, and that's where you have to rely on your rules and doing your job. And at times we were, I'm a DB guy and a defensive guy at heart, and I use it with the players. I'm like, they're busy watching the game, when they're out there playing. And they can't watch the game when they're out there playing ball. They have to read their keys and do their job and then play football. But there's no room for them to view what's going on. Vision, yes, vision's important, but taking care of your job, doing your primary responsibility, reading your keys, all of those things, it starts there.
Mark, speaking of football terms, you probably wish that you had a full 60 minutes of reps for your guys to, for film and everything. Are there any challenges to ramp up to such a big game next week, knowing you only had a quarter or two and a half?
No, that part of it, no. We ramped up very hard in camp, and we're ready to play, and our guys were. I do think you have to understand in game one, as we talk about last week, I talked about in here Monday last week, of them controlling their emotions, controlling their breathing, controlling all that. That was a challenge when you tee off 2 hours plus, after you're supposed to, and then they get out there. But we did have long drives. We were pushed. I mean, our guys are in good shape. That part of it I'm not worried about. But to the beginning part of your question, yeah, it does bother me that we didn't get a lot of reps for some guys that we could have gotten some reps. There's some players that worked extremely hard that we wanted to see in a game-like situation. We have a big lead, and so that part of it, is disappointing. I also think, for the offense, getting in rhythm, as I mentioned post game, 16 first downs at half, and we had one possession, I think, in the second half, 18 first downs. I mean, I would have loved to have seen us continue to move the ball and, get some yards and get some plays in, and getting, try to continue to build on the rhythm that I thought we found in the second quarter. But it is what it is.
Mark, you all had a massive field position advantage in that game when you kind of look at the draft chart. Special teams, just what did you see from that group when you came?
Yeah, the special teams were really solid, really good. We got to continue to improve, continue to build on that, but they were really solid. We knew, we knew that there was probably no chance that they'd kick the ball to Barry on. You know what I mean? So we were very prepared for some short kicks, and you could see we exploited that with the big return, on the opening kickoff return. So Willie had a nice return there. We would work that. We expected some form of a short kick, squib, pooch, whatever. But we didn't feel like in any way they were going to kick the ball to Barry on.
Mark, gave a couple long third downs in that first, or I guess it was the second defensive drive, but you didn't give up any more third down conversions after that. What happened with the team?
Well, it just goes to, the point I was making earlier, just seeing different plays, vision, just being amped up, and just, you got to play with clean vision, clean eyes, and, do your job, and guys are getting a little antsy, running themselves out of position, but we just executed better, bottom line, executed better, mixed it up, and, we got to continue to do that. Sometimes, for Coach White and for any defense, I mean, it is what it is. Maybe you're going to be in man, maybe you're going to bring 5, maybe you're going to bring 6, but you got to win some one-on-ones as well.
Mark, it looked like as the game moved along, the offensive line was really getting into a good rhythm in the run game in particular.
I agree. I thought, the coaches did a nice job of just mixing it up and mixing up the run game, hitting them with the perimeter stuff, stretching them out, hitting it downhill. Just a good mixture.
Mark, you all have talked about Jason Patterson since the spring. The one series he got, it was really good out there. Just what about him made him able to seize that, a spot rotation as a freshman? I think we've seen that since then.
I think, just the opportunity he had in the spring to get a lot of reps, and he made the most of it. He's one of those guys that's, he's pretty serious. He's locked in on his daily goals, and he works hard daily. Kind of puts his head down, keeps his mouth shut, and works hard. And he's worried about just getting better. And I don't mean that in any selfish way. He just wants to help the team and wants to get better, and I love that attitude.
What sort of challenges does Lenore Sellers present to the defense?
Yeah, he's a dual threat guy. He's big, he's strong. He can throw the heck out of the ball down the field. You saw that. So you see the arm talent. So I think a very good football player that is going to get better with every snap he takes, every game, every rep. He'll improve. And but very good. Physical guy with a lot of attributes. He could run, he could throw. He seems like a very mature young man. So, obviously everything you read and see about him, takes the game very serious and works very hard at it.
Mark, I think against OTU, South Carolina edge rushers were responsible for 6 tackles for loss and 4 forced fumbles.
Yeah.
What's the key to getting those guys blocked?
Yeah, they have a really good combination with 5 and 6, so you can see them both out there. You can't miss them. You may get the numbers confused because they both play. They're one's a very mature older player that's an impact player in Kennard, and then with Dylan Stewart, the 5-star freshman, big time player, very disruptive. Those guys are. They're just very good players. They're athletic. They get off on the football. They attack. But they also have a nice feel. When they tried to bait them upfield and run some draws and things of that nature, they read it well and retraced well. So they're good football players.
Mark, watching the game back, I was pretty impressed with Jacob Burton. Looked like he had one of his better games there. What did you see from him and just the growth he made this offseason?
Yeah, he did good. He's getting better. He's going to be pushed, by Coach Wolf and all of us. And again, I think he's growing. There's still a player too that he needs to finish better. And we had a couple opportunities had he finished, cleaner. But a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that I could say that about that we're striving for improvement and but he's certainly getting better.
As you mentioned, the games with South Carolina have been evenly matched. Last year, that loss down there, like I said, after the game, one of the more frustrating losses here. Do you bring that up with the team this year, or is it new team, new year?
It's always new team, new year. You've heard me say that 100 times. You know what I mean? Whether it was dealing with bad streaks, good streaks, you name it. Every year is a new year. I think, with that being said, you always try to learn. You know what I mean? From teams you play, maybe things that pop up, things that have happened. We're always going to try to learn and grow from mistakes or things that have happened. Things of that nature.
But you mentioned that the games have been closer. Does this opponent, does it get more juice out of your guys?
I think it I don't know. Is juice overrated? We need to be prepared. We need to be prepared. And our guys said after a 2-hour, 20-minute delay last week, they had juice. But it's really about going out and executing and playing. So I think the fact that it's a conference game this early definitely amps things up a little bit.
What did you think your offensive operation as far as getting the tempo you wanted to get?
Well, I think you saw that, with plays. We had a good number of plays. And again, how many times have you heard me say you're going to distribute the football if you get first downs? We want explosive plays. I think we found a nice mixture. We created some explosives, but we also moved the ball. And the tempo and the operation was better. Wasn't perfect, by any stretch. We've got to clean up some things with just formationally and all the different nuances. There is quite a bit that goes on pre-snap with our offense, and Coach Bush talks about that constantly. That we have to win the pre-snap because there's a lot going on with formations, motions, shifts, and then executing. Because if you can do that effectively, it puts some pressure on some guys.
You don't think you had any false starts?
I don't think we had any false starts. I did have to burn two timeouts. So that I went into the game saying, hey, I will burn the timeouts. I wasn't panicking about that. If something wasn't perfect, let's just call timeout, regroup, and get them settled in. Because again, there's a lot going on, and I think I like where we're headed. We have some more work to do.
Brock Vandegrift, obviously in his first college start, a lot of things that could have gone wrong with the delay didn't. Obviously, an early turnover, but his ability to settle in and really make plays with his feet, the vision that he seems to have downfield. What kind of a weapon is that going into the season? Because it seems like it's something we haven't had, except for Will, really, when he was here a couple years ago and fully healthy.
Yeah, I agree. I think he made very good decisions. I thought Brock, as I mentioned post game, I thought he played like I thought he would play, and I had a lot of confidence in him going into the game, and I think he delivered. Does that mean he played perfect or anything like that? No. He knows. He'll be the first to admit that there's things that we need to improve on, but I thought his pocket awareness was very good. I thought, in practice, that's hard to simulate all of that all the time, but the fact that he could step up, and scramble when he had to, buy time to throw the ball, throw in rhythm and on time, he did all those things, and he's not going to be perfect. No quarterback is with all that decision making. There's a lot that goes on. There's a lot they're reading, and then they have to feel all that pressure. As you just mentioned, we're certainly going to not be as comfortable this week with South Carolina's defensive front and the way they could, pressure the quarterback. So we got to make sure we have a very good plan for that. But he played very good. It was good to see. I thought he played like a confident quarterback. He didn't seem like a first-year starter. So hopefully he can continue to improve on that.
Coach, the defense was able to force a couple turnovers and get some sacks, and it's kind of led to some saying that this might be one of the better groups you've had. What about this group is different to maybe some of the better defenses you've had?
I don't know. That's to be determined. I'm not ready to anoint them yet, on any of that. There's things that we need to improve on a great deal from this game. And I just want to see us stay in the daily focus and handle the things we need to do daily, to help us today, improve on some of the things and mistakes we've made. And then, this week with our short-term goals of taking care of business here with our next game.
Mark, I think the fans were really excited about Bush, especially that one series where you took, I think it was 3 straight deep shots. I don't know how many times in your tenure you'd be comfortable with a guy, calling 3 straight shots, but you seem to be comfortable with Bush. And how is that working out?
In our staff meeting yesterday, I pointed that out to him too. I told him I loved it. I loved the way he attacked it and went at it. That's not always going to happen or anything like that. But you have to mix things up. You have to. We went into it. We understood, their defensive philosophy. A year ago, I think they gave up a lot of explosive. They talked about it in the preseason about keeping things in front. So we went into it with a mindset of hitting some intermediate stuff and, and working those chains, as I mentioned. And then when we had our shots, hit them. And there was a few that we missed also, whether we checked out of one that we had a shot and it was the right coverage for the right shot, but we missed it, and so we just continue to work at it. But I've noticed that with Coach, all the way from spring, he's not afraid to get the ball down the field.
It seemed like Brock was confident in it. There was one, he rolled out opposite arm side and threw a great ball at Barryon, and Barryon just didn't reel it in. But it was for him to be able to move out of the pocket and still take those.
I thought so too. It was an incredible throw. You know what I mean? It was one of those ones that he was going to his left, had to turn and throw, and threw a very good ball. And at that point, again, no excuses for Barryon. It was raining and a little slippery, and he didn't bring it in. And it was also one of those ones where, it was definitely hanging in over the middle. You're going to take a shot too. But we'll get the next one.
Mark, I was looking at some numbers here for Alex Rayner. Dating back to the beginning of the 22 season, he's made 29 of the last 32 field goals. I guess, has he been even better than that?
Are you trying to jinx him? I know, I'm just saying.
Has he been maybe even better than what you thought when you got caught him?
No, he's a very good player. I mean, it's probably fair to say he's a little more consistent. And I mean, I had an expectation when he came in he was a good kicker, and he's done that. Yeah.
Mark, I think on the only 3rd and short you guys had Saturday, you ran the end around to Barryon. How do you feel about your running backs in those situations where everybody knows you got to run the ball with a chip out? And that seemed like it was
I thought that was a point, I made Saturday morning in one of our meetings with our team that I wanted to be able to run the ball when the whole stadium knew we were going to run the ball. And, I think, we got going in the run game, but we're going to continue to improve, and we need to. We got to continue to challenge them. I felt confident in our running backs with no problem, and I felt confident with our O-line. We just got to get on the same page, and we have to do it. I told you after the game that was my fault on the 4th and 1. I mean, I think you all know me and watched me over the years. I'm going to be calculated with that, but pretty aggressive when the time's right. And depending on the opponent and the situation and the whole deal, but not that I regret it. We go up 2 scores, you go up 10-0. I felt good about making the field goal, as you pointed out, with Alex being pretty steady. But Again, I got confused on the chains with that melee going on over there. 4th and 1 in that situation. At the moment, I'm like, guys, this is my bad. Like, I was confused. I didn't see the chains. And you only have so much time. You don't want to get a delay a game. So when I see those sticks and you're substituting 11 guys, I want to get that operation going so they're not rushed and get a delay and all that. But again, no excuses. Just the situation was what it was. No, you're good.
South Carolina ran it twice as many times as they threw it. How does that challenge your defense, not just to be stout, but also to make sure your secondary is engaged?
Yeah, I think part of that is just like us as well, with Sellers pulling it down some too, and reading it and checking. You know what I mean? And we had some of that as well. I think. I'm sure they want to be balanced, but anytime you have a quarterback that's dual threat, it could add a few more runs in there as well. And there's reads on there. A lot of their run plays have screens and bubbles and RPOs and things of that nature that, any quarterback, ours included, as you keep on playing, you know what I mean? You feel more comfortable mixing it up and sprinkling in some of those throws.
You have a guy like Brock who can keep things alive.
If I could go back real quick, last year we had 2nd and 2, and we had one that we could run or we could throw, and it kills me that we didn't hand it. We throw the ball backwards and lose 7 yards instead of going out. Could have scored. So, anyway, still pisses me. Anyway, I don't know why that just jumped in my mind. But go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
When you've got a guy like Brock who can keep things alive and keep those eyes down the field and everything, does it take some time for the other guys around him to learn that and adjust that, hey, we've got to stay in this? We
have worked that, and again, Coach Hamden has done a tremendous job. We've worked that since spring, so we work that in practice, and again, we're not perfect and get out in games and things happen, but I thought he did a nice job at directing when he had time the other day. But yes, I think you keep on, as you get on the same page and keep on playing, hopefully that'll improve as well.
Yeah. With Brock, because with your previous transfer quarterbacks who've come in here, have all had a measure of experience starting. What was that transition different, or how different was it with Brock, and how did you kind of get him prepared for Saturday?
Well, if you think about it, when we took Will, he hadn't thrown, very many. Matter of fact, I don't know. Don't quote me exactly, but I mean, there's more. You could look it up. There's more. Yeah, there's a lot. I know you guys got a lot of time to look things up, but I could argue that there was probably more film on Brock than there was Will Levis. Of seeing what we were looking at. So, but. To your point, we did put a lot of faith and confidence in Brock because we believed in him, and what we did see on film we liked. Again, I go back to he's coming from a program, how well coached he was, and how complex they are. With playing Georgia, they're not just good players; they're very well coached, and so when we were taking somebody like Brock from there, who was their backup, you saw his operation, you saw the way he was coached, you saw the way he played in high school, you felt pretty good about it.
Did you see any signs of a Stetson or Carson in him?
I can't get any comparison like that. You know what I mean? I just looked at him and had confidence in him.
How much of the fact that he was a coach's son?
A lot, definitely.
Speaking as a coach's son.
Yeah, definitely had a lot to do with it. Greg, his father has, is a tough guy and a high school coach, and definitely instilled that in Brock, and he's wired right. There's no doubt about that.
Mark, speaking of time to look things out, I think in the last 3 Kentucky-South Carolina games, UK's turned the ball over 8 times, and South Carolina's turned it over twice. What's the key to turning that around?
Well, again, I mean, that's a stat that you have time to go look at. I mean, I've watched the games, and I will say, starting with last week, I mean, turnover margin is big in every game, especially evenly matched games. So, that's always a factor and always important to us.
I know JQ had the one interception, but specifically, how did those corners opposite Max kind of play in that first game with DJ out?
Yeah, DJ, we're trying to get DJ back healthy. I think that could help us bring some depth. And we wanted to get Nasir. Nasir was about to go in and get some reps as well, and I would like to have seen that. But JQ did a nice job, and Jansen Dunn is a guy that we could play inside a little bit nickel, but also at corner, and is coming along. So both guys, I think, will get better as they continue to get some reps under their belt.
Alex Safari really looked like he was the disruptor, moving up forward, playing in the linebacker spot, 2 tackles for loss. How has his progression really helped change the overall defensive team speed, which looked really good on Saturday?
I thought those guys popped as well. I thought the top 4 linebackers inside really played well. D-Jack, on the interception, really made that interception. He always, he's a steady guy. He's played a lot for us. DeMoss Johnson always, plays well. I think you see him turn it, when the game comes on, he can turn it up another notch. He packs a big punch. With Rayner, you see him always he has good instincts and is very fast, very sudden. And, I thought Alex also showed up, and there's things he could be better at. It's his first time really playing in there. And again, he could play a little inside, a little outside, but he definitely showed some pop, or some athleticism, some suddenness. And I think, he's going to get better and better.
All right, folks. I'm sorry, somebody.
Trayvon Brick like he had a good game. What did you see from him in camp, and what did you see?
I thought Trayvon had a very good game. He's a guy that has played a lot of football for us. I'd like to see him take another step, and I thought this first game showed that. I thought he was disruptive, did his job. A lot of times those interior defensive linemen are unsung guys. Nobody talks about them because they're doing a lot of dirty work and cleaning things up inside there. And I thought he played very well, and I thought he showed a lot of growth because Trayvon, has a tendency to be, he's an emotional guy, and there was one late hit in particular, and you know what I mean. And I don't think it was called, but there were some things going on after the play, and normally he would respond in a different way, and he was very frustrated by it. But again, that's the unselfishness we're looking for. It takes a bigger, stronger man to take that penalty. Just like when we've got a gift when somebody hit us late, and it would have been 3rd and 1, I want to say, on the goal line, 1 or 2. Those aren't give-me's. You know what I mean? They have a chance to stop us. You have a chance to turn it over, and they gave us a new set of downs, and it was good by our guys not retaliating. I talked a lot about that because early in the year, again, all the emotions. I've watched a lot of football. You see things happening all the time of just being an unselfish football team and being a smart football team and having a high IQ. We've got to be that way. We cannot beat ourselves. And football 101, you can't beat anybody until you stop beating yourself. And I try to beat that into our guys' heads. And, it's hard in today's world to be extremely unselfish and play for everybody else. But I think we have a really good group. And I think this is a good start, to build from. So, again, thanks for the support last week. I thought it was incredible. Our facilities people worked so many hours all day. Just to thank them and the fans for sticking it out, staying with us. It was truly amazing. Great atmosphere, great situation, and we need it again. I call them this week. We start league play, and we need this place electric. And I promise you, our team's going to work hard, and we'll be prepared and ready to tee